So yeah, I figured since PS5 is on the horizon, or PS5 Pro got announced, and that was kind of a nightmare. We're super into that, crazy about the price tag. Figured it'd be kind of fun to talk about Switch 2. Kind of worried that they're going to announce it like probably right after Echoes of Wisdom comes out. So I kind of wanted to just get all my ideas out there before they're all invalidated by whatever nonsense Nintendo actually ends up making, or to just talk about it and think about it before the opportunity is gone for another 7 years or whatever. And I mean, realistically, I think anybody expects it to be all that different, but Nintendo. It's Nintendo, so it's fun to speculate about what nonsense they're cooking up. Watch them just be like, yeah, it's not even portable. I hope not, because how happy every other console that isn't portable is doing, but it's Nintendo. They could do whatever they want. I would eat it up. I like the silly Wahoo Hummer. Yeah, so there's two sets of wish lists I have. One that's very realistic, not surprising at all, hopefully. And I have a set that I am personally hoping for or excited about the possibility of. I want to start with the realistic list, just because to start with that realistic list, the first kind of big asterisk, I think, is that don't forget this Switch is going to be the exact same layout. There's no reality where Nintendo like changes like button scheme or whatever. They've kind of been sticking to what they've had since the Wii U almost. I can't see them changing it again, especially if this console is going to have a big focus on backwards compatibility. I think everything on the Switch will probably be playable, so I don't see why this would be any kind of exception to that. Yeah, so like A, B, X, and Y buttons are always going to be the same. Maybe they'll be capitalized. Wait, are they capitalized? Oh, okay. Maybe they'll be lowercase this time instead of uppercase. But I think as far as where everything's located on the controller, left stick, right stick, whatever nonsense, it's going to be the exact same. Maybe a D-pad. Actually, I do expect a D-pad instead of Joy-Cons. Yeah, same D-pad layout. I can't imagine it changing in any way. So the first real big thing I think would happen is it'd have a bigger frame. I think Nintendo's going to be a little bit more careful future-proofing this system. It felt like the Switch was kind of a panic response button for the Wii U's nonsense. So this bigger frame will house the better processing chip, better whatever. And I think it'll just feel a lot more full in the hand, because I think the Switch actually feels kind of weird in people's hands. So yeah, there's no way it's not going to be a little bit thicker, I think, to just house whatever their graphics card is. I think it will be probably closer to Xbox One, PS4 power. I think probably more powerful. That might be a crazy guess, because I guess Nintendo really likes to do their optimization for the hardware. I mean, all Switch games look pretty much fantastic in my opinion, with exceptions of frame rate, but I don't personally care about frame rate. But yeah, I think it's really important that they will be housing the better tech, and they're going to be very careful about what they choose to include for the Switch successor, because I doubt they want to release a Pro Super Switch or whatever down the line, especially considering what PlayStation just announced and how that went over with their fan base. So yeah, bigger frame, house better chips, better graphics, whatever. I think the touchscreen is going to stay. I was thinking about this, debating if the touchscreen was going to stay, and then I remembered backwards compatibility is going to be there's no way they're going to get rid of a feature that already exists on the Nintendo Switch, except for maybe the IR camera. But I guess that's not. I debated it just because I think that does kind of inflate the cost of the system one way or another. I don't know anything about production costs, but I imagine a capacitive touchscreen versus the resistive that the Wii U and the 3DS had, that might have been a big reason for why those consoles were a lot more priced effectively. Let's talk about controllers. So no more Joy-Cons. That's the big thing. I think the effect of the control, the Joy-Con drift, right? The Joy-Con whatever, all of this Joy-Con nonsense, I think that needed a revision. A lot of people think that the Joy-Cons are too small and that they're not very comfortable. Not a lot of people like the Joy-Cons. I love them just because they have so much stupid tech crammed into them, and I think they're fun. So I think Joy-Cons are going to be gone. They're going to be called Pro-Cons or something. And it's just going to be, they're effectively the same as Joy-Cons. They're going to have grips, because that's the big thing that people buy for their Switches now, is the stupid grips that you attached to your Joy-Cons. And then I also think we're gonna get pressure analog triggers again. Pressure triggers. Probably not to the degree of the PS5, just because I don't think they would want to spend the production cost on those plus the portable console. But I do think we're gonna get pressure triggers back because Nintendo's starting to look at their backlog. They're looking at GameCube games specifically, and I would not be surprised if they're like, oh, we want to port that. Oh, but it has pressure triggers. Okay, we won't do that. And I think they're gonna change that. So get those pressure triggers back. Kind of still surprised that they weren't ever present on the Switch in any way, other than just like compatibility and the Switch kind of the same for everyone as long as you have a pair of Joy-Cons. So yeah, pressure triggers, analog. Again, these are still detachable. I think Nintendo really likes the sit down and pass and play. I loved it in high school. I remember when I was in high school, I would bring my Switch all the time, but I loved to take it out and like I'd be with my friends in the hallway and I'd be like, oh, let's play Smash, whatever. Pass the Switch controller, and you're playing Smash. That feature cannot be understated, and it kind of sells the console itself. I'd be very surprised if they got rid of that kind of ease of use features. Like I don't know, the way they're gonna build these is very interesting to me. Actually, the capture button is interesting to just talk about, just because of the changes to social media in recent years, and how difficult it is to get people to like use Twitter or whatever, right? I'd be curious what. I think it'll stay. I don't know how deep integration would go. Maybe Nintendo would start their own social network. I think that'd be kind of smart. They were willing to moderate it, unlike Miiverse. I love Miiverse, and I would kill for an unmoderated Miiverse, but maybe not. Maybe in 2014 that was okay. I don't know about 2024. I'm a little worried about physical media and having a cartridge reader. I think we will stick with cartridges, actually. I think it seems like they've already kind of been advancing the cartridge kind of reading. Maybe it'll have like a little notch in it, like the 3DS did versus the DS games. But I can't imagine them getting rid of cartridges or like physical media. Nintendo likes to sell that stuff. I say this all objectively, like I know. They could maybe hate it. Maybe it'll be all digital. I doubt they'll make an all digital version. It's part of the novelty of a lot of consoles that I think a lot of like console makers are forgetting is used games, trading games. I think Nintendo got it and kind of locked it down with the Switch, is that gaming is a social experience more than, oh, I can lend you this game, or, you know, playing with somebody else in high school, like I was talking about earlier, where somebody's going to just enjoy that time. It's really important. I really do think that. I think after the reaction to the PS5 Pro, again, it's very obvious that consumers care more about this stuff than companies think. I do believe that rumor about like how Nintendo is making the Joy-Con charger to kind of like give people an auxiliary means of keeping Joy-Con around, just for their Switch 2. I'd be curious if they keep producing them. Like Nintendo made Wii controllers, right, for pretty much forever. The Procron should probably be able to do everything the Joy-Con can do. They're just going to be like a better form factor more than anything, and built for this console specifically. So Joy-Con will still work, and it'll be the exact same experience, but the Procon is going to feel miles better than the Joy-Con, hopefully. Outright reduced drift and bigger buttons are the two things. I don't know if people got like Wii Thumb, I guess it's not Wii Thumb, but like Switch Thumb from holding down the A button when you played too much Mario Kart or whatever. That was a big thing for me when I took my Switch with me on road trips. I'd play Mario Kart back when the Switch was brand new. That's all you had, right? You had Mario Kart and Zelda. And you'd hold the A button for so long that you'd get these stupid like imprints of the circles because the buttons are just so rigid and hard. It's just kind of weird to me that the Joy-Cons never got a revision already during the Switch's actual lifestyle. So there's no way they're keeping Joy-Cons around. I think we're going to get Pro-Cons, better to hold, bigger, pretty much the exact same as Joy-Cons. Actually, I'm going to say maybe no IR camera. I don't really know how that got on the Switch. I'd be curious if like Labo is part of that proposition. I don't really expect the IR camera to stay, honestly. Nobody ever used it. And it's probably really novel whenever games do use it, but compared to anything else now. They'll keep the Amiibo reader. Okay. Controllers and the dock is the same. Dock will definitely stay the same. Maybe like just bigger for the console. but structurally, it'll probably feature a new design, just like to distinguish it. It'll have the exact same functionality. I doubt they'll. I don't know what you even add to the dock, like more USB ports. It's already got like what, 5, 4? That might be a total oversell. There's like 2 on the side, and then there's 1 in the back. 3. There's 3 ports or whatever. But yeah, the dock will stay the same, bigger for console, look different, but same function. It's definitely going to be, the same plug and play experience. I wonder if the Pro-Con could maybe attach to each other instead of needing a grip. That seems like something they probably already experimented with the Joy-Con where they made it. But yeah, I think that about covers my realistic expectations. I'd be surprised if literally any of these don't come true. The big one for me is the Joy-Cons. Or if they keep Joy-Cons, rather. I don't know why they would ever do that. Everybody hates the Joy-Cons. I mean, I've got tiny hands, so I've been blessed with, like, Joy-Con compatibility. So, let's just sketch out, like, the, like, undocked version here. Like, it'll still be a tablet. There's no way it's not a tablet. I think we'll get the big bezel. Oh, yeah, no OLED. That's the other thing. No OLED. That will definitely be saved for premium option, or, like, a Pro or whatever, like, down the line. It just inflates cost. That's the only reason. I think people will... They're gonna want this thing in people's hands before they start making the weirdo stuff. Oh, and then price point, $400. I think this thing's gonna be sold for $400, probably to $500. More leaning towards $400 would be that sweet spot in my mind. I don't think it's gonna be $300 again. They still have Switches on the market. They haven't shied away from like not making them. It seems like. So I think $400, if I had to guess, would be that like starter price. Maybe $450. What would that look like? I think basically just like a Pro controller, like split in 2. Oh yeah, D-pad. It's not worth the sacrifice to not have a D-pad for that replayability or whatever. I think everybody wanted the D-pad. They never did it. Probably for that reason, for the shareability reason. Just because all the games are built around that. Look, there it is. Literally what I expect is for them to just attach the stupid Pro controller straight to the console itself. Oh my god, am I really gonna focus on a D-pad? Saying, I mean, people love the Pro controller. It's so weird because even my friends who never use their Switches have always been partial to buying a Pro controller. They don't like play that much just for the sake of comfort, because those Joy-Cons can definitely get grating. This is not my best work. Yep, I think we're gonna get that. We're bring that big old bezel back. Everybody's gonna love the bezel. What size is the Switch's screen right now? The 7-inch, or is the OLED a 7-inch? Yeah, OLED is 7-inch. Normal is 6.2-inch. This will probably be 7-inch at the start, just because again the bigger frame. I think it's gonna be way bigger. Yeah, and as for the dock design, alright. Maybe they don't even like expect you to leave the controllers on at this point. That's how you break it though, is trying to put it like the dock into the controllers. Maybe you could lay upside down into the console? I don't see why that wouldn't work. But yeah, what if you so stupid, and call it the Super Switch, because why not? Yeah, and then people, I was like, there you go, Nintendo, now you can market it as a bunny. But yeah, that's about my realistic expectations. I'd be very surprised if the Switch doesn't end up looking somewhat like what I've outlined here. So now, let's talk about the actual fun part, which is the made-up Switch that will never ever happen, but would be awesome if it did. And my wish list is based on less what I'd expect and more of what I'd expect if Nintendo tried to surprise us. So if Nintendo was trying to surprise us with some crazy nonsense, this is what crazy nonsense I think would be cool enough for Nintendo to be like, yeah, we want to invest in that. People would want it, I think. Well, maybe not. We'll get there. I thought it'd be fun to really spitball these. So first of all, the wish list, let's start with the stuff that kind of stays the same, is the bigger frame. I think it's going to stay the same, still going to be on that bigger frame. I think we're still going to have the Pro-Con that I detailed earlier. It's going to be almost the exact same. Just those bigger Joy-Cons, better whatever. Same buttons. I still cannot even comprehend Nintendo deciding to add or subtract anything from those controllers. The console will definitely be the Pro controller, no doubt. That's where things end. I think where we're gonna get funky is I think this will be a dual screen system, and that already becomes a nightmare if you even think about it for a second. Because then it's like, oh, how will Nintendo like bring it forward and back? That you know, portability versus docked versus handheld. So here's how the dual screen's gonna work: is in portable mode, it attaches to a hinge. So it's like a DS basically. And so this top screen or whatever will probably house like the actual console itself, like. So whatever the tech is that's behind it. I think the DS's work the other way, where the bottom screen doesn't. But, oh gosh. But the way I want this to work, I think the top screen will actually house most of the components, the electronic components. I don't really know how that works with weight at all. It's kind of nonsense. It's just going to be so heavy. It's going to be so top heavy. The screen's probably going to hinge all wrong and stuff. But I think the top screen will work weight. And then the bottom screen will effectively be what the Switch is now, or what I expect the Super Switch or the Switch 2 to be, which is just like a normal Switch, but with, you know, the better controller. Yeah, that bottom screen will be just the current Switch, but with better Joy-Con, and it'll be attached. So that's where your touchscreen is. Yeah, top screen is not touchscreen. There's no reason for it to be touchscreen. There was never any reason on the DS in the first place. And I know people are going to get angry about this because the Wii U, one of its big issues was that nobody really knew what to do with the bottom screen. And I think that's really stupid. I don't know how that happened, like game dev wise, because they never had that issue on like the DS. You never played a DS game where the bottom screen was like just blank all the time. And that's why I don't understand the DS. I guess like from a multiplayer aspect, only one person can have that like tablet. How many games do you play multiplayer? Local multiplayer. I think local multiplayer is, unfortunately, this is something I want. I think it is true, is that local multiplayer is dying. It's very hard to get 4 people sitting in a room at once. Okay, the time works, social media, whatever. But if we're on a home console where everybody has their own bottom screen, and they don't build it like it's a little tyke toy, people will be way more keen to play with it, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna say the bottom screen will be the current Switch. Will effectively be the current Switch. So how does docking work then? The dock takes only the bottom screen, or only the top screen, not the bottom screen. And you can play with the bottom screen like a gamepad. And maybe this is me being like evil or whatever. Yeah, some people are gonna be like, oh yeah, that would never happen. Yeah, bottom screen comes off like a gamepad. And I know that sounds insane, but again, I think the Wii U's failure did not owe itself to the console itself. It owed itself to poor marketing and weird Nintendo like software motives. If Nintendo had a console like the Wii U, and they sat down and created games for it, dedicated themselves the same way they dedicated the Switch to like reviving these old IP, using whatever nonsense to kind of get this through, I think it'd be pretty important to them. Yeah, I think it would be fine as long as they market it correctly. So, you know, you're not calling it the Wii U and people are confused if this is like an addition. So in order to do that, you have to be very careful. So one of the big things that the Wii U failed for was that the actual console itself was never advertised. It almost always be advertised as just the gamepad. This thing has to be marketed as a dual screen console. It can't be marketed as like this wonky like controller and only the controller. This is so much more than the controller. It doesn't even have to be marketed as the Switch 2. It probably won't be called a Switch anymore, but I truly think that the idea of the Wii U could succeed very easily. Bottom screen, be damned. And even for like third parties, it's fine. Price point, yeah, this is going to be a, maybe not a premium machine, but it's obviously not going to be cheap. I think this would be right at home with all the other boys at $500. So, and that would keep like the Switch in like that budget territory where you would buy a Switch if you just want a console that has like a ton of games. I imagine we're still going to see Switch games releasing like over the next 2 years. The last native Nintendo Switch game will probably come out like early 2027, late 2026 at most. So that'll be plenty of time for people to migrate over. And, you know, if people still want to play Switch games, they can buy their like $200, $300 Switch Pro, Lite, whatever. And then they can come on over to the greener pastures of the Super Switch. So let me draw this nonsense. Here's our magical hinge. Yeah, that rectangle. I know. I can't imagine like, you know, this top screen will probably have like speakers built into the back. So like, I don't know. How do you represent speakers like that? You know, this is not a touchscreen. Again, no OLED. I'd be super surprised if we see anything have OLED in the near future. Just Nintendo does want this in the hands of people. But yeah, OLED wise, Oh, maybe speakers actually are going to be on the bottom screen. So yeah, this is gonna be your top screen. I don't think it'll have speakers actually. I thought it would, but the more I think about it, no speakers, because if there are any speakers in it, then you can't use the speakers when it attaches, supposedly. Envision this. Let me pull up a 3DS. Let's see what a 3DS looks like. Yeah, so there we go. That's easier for me to think about now. Again, I think this will be the top screen. Both of the screens are going to be the same size, interest of third-party compatibility. That's the tough thing about these consoles. It's like the weird fun consoles in my mind are just nobody's going to want to make for them, because then you're like, becomes like infinitely more difficult to like support whatever you're making to it, just because you either have this weird black screen that nobody's going to touch or use. And ultimately, that's why I don't think Nintendo would ever do this, is because, I mean, very obviously, third-party support, I think, was very key to Switch's success. It was always very exciting. Like, you know, Doom came out for the 50th time on the Switch. Yeah, so big thing is probably speakers on the bottom. These are sticks, not circle pads. Because my big worry going into whatever the Switch successor ends up being is that Nintendo could definitely do the thing where, you know, they get comfortable with their branding, which is the exact same thing that happened with the Wii or the NES or whatever else that they've gone like down and up and down and up and down and up. They get very comfortable with their branding, and then they kind of just rely on that being okay for the rest of the time. When realistically, like, we have the Asus ROG, the Steam Deck, all of these different like portable PCs are coming out. Why would I get a Switch right now instead of a portable PC? And the answer ultimately is Nintendo's games. You can't play Smash on Steam Deck or whatever. But anyways, yeah, so this top Switch thing, this hinge probably literally comes out, like retracts, whatever Nintendo hardware magic they have to do, plug into like, it would probably lay down like horizontally. Yeah, like imagine like a hinge, you know, laying comfortably. Yeah, plug that into the console. That's our hinge, whatever. Console would probably be like, actually the bottom would probably be okay. I'd expect some kind of burger type design. Probably more fun than that, because realistically the top part, there'd be like a little like bite as part of the hinge, or like some kind of like attachment that works so the top screen can work. Yeah, so it would like attach via hinge. I'm trying to think of how would you put this into a dock. This thing has to go into a dock. And I don't know if Nintendo would want people like taking the hinge off and then physically placing the top screen into like a dock. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Like, what if like the dock was more like a NES kind of situation, where it had like a slit, the dock to kind of just sit in, and then the screen can either like sit up or can like lay down against the wall, so that the hinge definitely just kind of slots back to the device, like from the hinge. It'll probably just lay down. I'm so built for drawing. But yeah, it just lays down, and then like, I don't know. I don't think that looks great. Be a Nintendo designer would know better than me. Probably like put down some like lifters or something. A weird piece of like metal, like align it in. Whatever it takes, but that would go onto there, and you'd play with this separately. I don't think that would ever happen in a million years. I mean, I just already proved that like it's kind of a nightmare of like engineering, but I think it'd be really fun. So, and weird, and I like it when Nintendo gets weird and does all these weird things. That about wraps up what I wanted to kind of draft up before this console is inevitably revealed and they crush my hopes and dreams. That's what I'd love for my Switch to look like, for my Super Switch. And I'd like for it to be at that price point too. Thank you. You go above 500, you're losing everybody, because it's not gonna happen. Again, real Switch is gonna be incredibly boring and not all that exciting. I think Nintendo reveals this and then people are like, yeah, that's exactly what we expected. You know, it happens, it sells a bajillion units, or it fails into the ground, and never see Nintendo make another console again. I don't think that ever happened, but maybe. What about, but like, cooler Switch, Super Switch? I'm just saying, they could cook here. I don't think they will, but they could.